Good evening and welcome to The Ethical Compass. Tonight we are delving into a topic where science, food production, and morality intersect. Is it ethical to clone animals for food? This is not science fiction. The technology exists, and its proponents argue it could secure our food supply for generations to come. On the other hand, opponents raise serious concerns about animal welfare and the long-term consequences. To help us navigate this complex issue, we have two distinguished guests. Dr. Evelyn Reed is a lead geneticist at a major food technology firm and a proponent of cloning. Welcome, Dr. Reed.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to the discussion.
And offering a contrasting perspective is Julian Croft, an animal rights advocate and organic farmer. Welcome, Julian.
It's a crucial conversation to have. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
We'll begin with opening statements. Dr. Reed, you have the floor.
Thank you, RS. Let's be clear about what we are discussing so that our conversation is productive. Animal cloning is an advanced reproductive technology. It is not about creating monsters or altering the fundamental nature of an animal. Instead, it allows us to produce a precise genetic copy of an existing animal, much like identical twins are genetic copies of each other. The primary argument for this technology is food security and efficiency. Imagine our very best livestock, an animal that is naturally healthy, resilient, and produces high-quality meat or milk with minimal environmental impact. Cloning allows us to replicate these elite genetics consistently and predictably. This leads to a more predictable and stable food supply, which is a significant advantage in a world with a population projected to reach nearly 10 billion by 2050. Consequently, we can produce more food using fewer resources, less land, less water, less feed, which contributes directly to agricultural sustainability. Furthermore, there are considerable health and safety benefits that we cannot ignore. We can select and clone animals that have a natural, robust resistance to common diseases like mastitis in dairy cows or avian flu in poultry. This could dramatically reduce the need for antibiotics in farming, a practice which is contributing to the rise of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, a major public health crisis. It is often argued that this process is unnatural. However, humanity has been shaping the genetics of the plants and animals we consume for millennia through selective breeding. Cloning is simply a more precise and efficient tool to achieve the same goal: a safer, healthier, and more reliable food source for everyone. It's not something to fear. It's a responsible step forward in agricultural science.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. A very clear position to start us off. Julian, your opening statement.
Thank you. Dr. Reed presents a very clean, very clinical picture of this technology, but the reality on the ground is far from it. My opposition is based on three fundamental points: the immense animal suffering involved, the dangerous ecological risks, and the morality of the process itself. First, and most urgently, the process of cloning involves a staggering amount of animal suffering. The success rate is notoriously low. For every one successful clone that survives to adulthood, there are countless failed attempts. These failures manifest as miscarriages, stillbirths, and severe birth defects in the animals that are born. The animals that do survive are often afflicted with serious health problems, including respiratory and circulatory issues, and tend to have shorter, more painful lifespans. We must also consider the surrogate mothers who endure difficult pregnancies and the trauma of these losses. Is this level of suffering truly justifiable for a steak or a glass of milk? Second, the argument for efficiency hides a dangerous risk: the destruction of genetic diversity. If we begin to rely on a few elite genetic lines, our entire livestock population becomes incredibly vulnerable. A single new virus or disease to which this specific genetic line has no resistance could wipe out a substantial portion of our food supply practically overnight. Nature's strength, its resilience, lies in diversity. Cloning seeks to eliminate it in favor of a fragile, man-made monoculture. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, this technology crosses a serious ethical line. It reduces sentient beings, animals that feel pain, fear, and distress, to mere commodities. They are no longer creatures to be raised with respect, but products to be manufactured in a laboratory. It represents a fundamental and corrosive shift in our relationship with the natural world, and I believe it's a morally bankrupt one. We should be focusing our intelligence on sustainable and humane farming methods, not on industrializing life itself.
Thank you both for those clear and compelling opening statements. Dr. Reed, Julian raises a powerful point about animal welfare and the high failure rate of the procedure. How can the industry justify the suffering involved?
The concerns about animal welfare are valid, and I want to be clear that no reputable scientist takes them lightly, especially regarding the early stages of this technology. However, science progresses. It learns and it improves. The efficiency and success rates of cloning have improved significantly over the last decade. It's analogous to the development of other major medical procedures, like organ transplants or in vitro fertilization, which also faced immense challenges and failures initially. We are constantly refining our methods, improving the hormonal treatments for surrogates, and enhancing embryo viability to improve animal well-being at every stage. It's a necessary scientific and ethical investment to achieve the long-term benefit of a secure and safe food system. We believe that mitigating future widespread hunger and disease is a moral imperative that outweighs the managed and continually diminishing risks of the process.
Julian, Dr. Reed frames this as a moral imperative to feed a growing population. If cloning can guarantee a more stable and efficient food supply, shouldn't we pursue it, despite the challenges?
That argument is based on a false premise, that cloning is the only solution, or even the best one. It simply isn't. It's a corporate-driven solution that benefits large technology firms and consolidates control over our food system into fewer hands. True, long-term food security comes from building resilient, diverse, and sustainable agricultural systems. This means supporting small-scale farmers, investing in soil health through regenerative practices, and promoting crop and livestock diversity. These methods are proven, they're humane, and they don't carry the enormous ethical baggage and catastrophic risks of cloning. We shouldn't be asking how to industrialize animals, but how to create a better food system for people, animals, and the planet. Relying on a high-tech, high-risk fix is a dangerous distraction from these real, achievable solutions.
Dr. Reed, what about that risk to genetic diversity that Julian mentioned? How can we prevent creating a fragile monoculture of livestock, susceptible to a single disease?
This is a manageable logistical challenge, not an insurmountable barrier. The image of a world with only one type of cow is a straw man argument. A responsible cloning strategy, which is what we advocate for, would not involve replicating a single animal indefinitely. Instead, regulatory bodies and industry standards would ensure that we maintain a broad and diverse portfolio of elite genetic lines. We would create and maintain extensive, cryogenically frozen gene banks, preserving genetic material from a wide range of breeds, including rare and heritage ones. In fact, cloning could be a powerful tool to save endangered heritage breeds by preserving their unique genetics before they disappear. The goal is not to replace diversity, but to supplement it with highly reliable and healthy animal lines, thereby strengthening, not weakening, our food supply.
Julian, a final question for you in this section. Some might say your position is based more on an emotional aversion to new technology, a kind of Frankenfood fear, than on practical realities. Is your objection truly with cloning, or with scientific advancement in agriculture in general?
My objection is absolutely not with science. I admire and support scientific innovation that works in harmony with nature and with ethical principles. My opposition is to a specific application of science that is profoundly disrespectful to life and dangerously arrogant. It treats animals as if they were cars on an assembly line with interchangeable parts and predictable outputs. That's not biology. That's engineering imposed upon biology. There are countless ways science can help us farm better. Improving soil health, developing natural pest resistances through better ecology, enhancing sustainable practices. This, however, is not progress. It's a dangerous overreach. When science ignores ethics, compassion, and the complex, interconnected nature of ecosystems, it loses its way. That's what I believe is happening here. This isn't a fear of the future. It's a defense of a humane present.
Let's turn to the consumer. Dr. Reed, polls consistently show that the public is wary of food from cloned animals. How does the industry plan to overcome this deep-seated skepticism?
Public perception is indeed a significant hurdle, and it stems largely from misinformation and a natural fear of the unfamiliar. The key is education and transparency. It's a scientific fact that the meat and milk from a cloned animal are compositionally identical to those from a conventionally bred animal. There's no difference in safety, nutrition, or quality. Regulatory bodies like the FDA have affirmed this after extensive review. Our approach must be to communicate these facts clearly. We need to explain the process, demystify it, and highlight the benefits I mentioned earlier. Less disease, fewer antibiotics, a more stable food supply. Over time, as people understand that this is a safe and beneficial breeding technology, acceptance will grow, just as it did with pasteurization or fortified foods.
Julian, Dr. Reed talks about efficiency. The traditional organic farming methods you advocate for are often criticized for being less productive per acre and more expensive. Is that model a realistic solution for a planet of 8 billion people? Or is it a luxury that only the wealthy can afford?
This is a fundamental misunderstanding of what efficiency means. The industrial agricultural model appears efficient only because it externalizes its true costs. Society bears the cost of cleaning up polluted waterways, dealing with antibiotic resistance, and the long-term degradation of our soil. Regenerative farming, which is at the heart of the organic movement, is far more efficient in the long run. It builds topsoil, sequesters carbon, conserves water, and fosters the biodiversity that protects against disease and pests naturally. It's a holistic, systems-based efficiency. The issue of price is a matter of policy and priorities. If we shifted the massive subsidies that currently support industrial agriculture towards supporting sustainable regenerative farming, we could make healthy, humane food accessible to everyone, not just a niche market.
We're nearing the end of our time. I would like to ask you both for a brief closing statement to summarize your positions. Dr. Reed?
We stand at a crossroads. We can choose to embrace innovative technologies that offer a tangible path to a more secure, safe, and sustainable food future. Animal cloning, when managed responsibly and ethically, promises healthier animals, less reliance on antibiotics, and greater efficiency in feeding our growing global family. This isn't about sacrificing ethics for progress. It's about applying our scientific understanding to meet one of humanity's most fundamental needs. The challenges are real, but they're surmountable with continued research and diligent oversight. I urge us to choose a future guided by responsible innovation, not by a fear of the unknown.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. Julian, your final thoughts?
The choice we face tonight is about the kind of world we want to live in and what relationship we want to have with the other beings who share our planet. Is it one where life itself becomes a manufactured product, where suffering is dismissed as an acceptable production cost, and where we risk our entire food supply on a fragile genetic gamble? Or is it one where we value compassion, where we respect sentient beings, and where we work towards true lasting sustainability by nurturing the health of our ecosystems? I advocate for the latter. We have humane, effective, and resilient ways to farm. We should not sacrifice our moral compass for a technological shortcut that comes at such a high ethical price.
Thank you both, Dr. Reed and Julian Croft, for an illuminating and thought-provoking debate. You've left us with a clear conflict. The promise of scientific solutions to global problems versus the profound ethical questions about the limits of our intervention in nature. The debate continues, and the choice is one we all must consider. Good night.